It was a Friday night, one that I won't soon forget. Katie stumbled through the front door, her words slurred and her eyes avoiding mine. The stench of alcohol clung to her like a guilty plea in the air. She tried to hide it, but the truth spilled out with each faltering step. I, I cheated, she muttered, her voice barely audible over the weight of her confession. Shock froze me in place, disbelief waging war with the sinking feeling in my chest. How could this happen? How long had this been going on? Questions flooded my mind, but the answers seemed lost in the haze of betrayal. I'm sorry, Katie whispered, her eyes finally meeting mine, clouded with tears. But apologies couldn't erase the shattered trust, or the years we'd spent building a life together. As she stood there, vulnerable and remorseful, I struggled to comprehend the enormity of her words. The room felt suffocating, the walls closing in on the wreckage of our marriage. Our vows echoed hollowly in my mind, drowned out by the reality of her infidelity. The silence that followed her confession was deafening, punctuated only by the distant sounds of our once happy home crumbling around us. At that moment, I knew our lives would never be the same. I stood there staring at Katie, trying to process the weight of her admission. Every detail of the night replayed in my mind like a slow-motion train wreck. The way she stumbled into the house, the guilt etched on her face before she even spoke a word. It was as if time had slowed down, stretching each second into an eternity of disbelief and pain. What do you mean you cheated? I finally managed to choke out, my voice sounding foreign and distant to my ears. Katie's eyes, usually so full of warmth and love, now held a haunted look. She hesitated as if searching for the right words that could make sense of her betrayal. I don't know, she murmured, her voice barely audible. It was a mistake. I was drunk, not thinking clearly. Her words hung in the air, heavy with regret, yet devoid of any real explanation. I felt anger rising within me, hot and consuming. How could she betray everything we had built together? How could she throw it all away in one reckless moment? The room felt colder now, the warmth of our love replaced by an icy tension. I wanted to scream, to lash out at her, but instead, I found myself numb, the shock of her confession enveloping me like a suffocating blanket. I never thought you would. My words trailed off into a broken whisper. Katie reached out tentatively, her hand hovering in the air between us, as if unsure whether to comfort or to retreat. I'm so sorry, she repeated, tears streaming down her face now. I never wanted to hurt you. But her apology fell flat against the reality of her actions. The trust we had painstakingly built over the years shattered in an instant, leaving behind a void that seemed impossible to fill. As Katie stood there, her vulnerability laid bare, I realized that this was the end of us. The end of the life we had imagined together, the dreams we had shared. Everything was tainted now, stained by her betrayal. I turned away, unable to look at her any longer. The room seemed to close in around me, suffocating in its emptiness. Our home, once a sanctuary, now felt foreign and unfamiliar. In the days that followed, I tried to make sense of it all. I searched for reasons, for signs that I had missed. But deep down, I knew there was no justification for what Katie had done. It was a betrayal that cut to the core of our marriage, leaving scars that would never fully heal. As I stood alone in the wreckage of our once happy home, I knew that I had to find a way to move forward, to rebuild my life piece by piece without Katie by my side. Shock and disbelief gripped me as I walked into our bedroom. It was supposed to be a normal Friday evening, but what I saw shattered my world into 1,000 pieces. There she was, my wife Emily, tangled in the arms of another man. Time seemed to stand still as I tried to make sense of the scene before me. My heart raced, pounding in my chest like a drum of impending doom. I couldn't believe my eyes at first, hoping desperately that what I was seeing was just a terrible dream. But reality mocked me with its cruel clarity. There they were, whispering words that should have been mine to hear, sharing a moment that should have been ours alone. A surge of emotions flooded through me, betrayal, anger, and an overwhelming sense of despair. How could she do this to us, to everything we had built together over the years? The vows we exchanged, the promises of fidelity, now lay shattered at my feet. Emily's eyes met mine, wide with guilt and fear as she realized I had caught her in the act. Her lips moved, trying to form words of explanation or apology, but I couldn't hear them over the roar of devastation in my ears. The room spun around me, a whirlwind of disbelief and heartache. I wanted to scream, to lash out at her and the man who had invaded our sacred space. But all I could manage was a choked whisper. "How could you?" Tears welled up in Emily's eyes, her voice trembling as she tried to explain, to justify the unjustifiable. But her words fell on deaf ears, drowned out by the crushing weight of her betrayal. I turned and fled from the room, needing to escape the suffocating atmosphere of our home, now tainted by infidelity. Every corner echoed with the laughter we once shared, now twisted into a painful reminder of what was lost. I woke up the next morning with a heavy heart and a mind clouded by disbelief. The events of last night replayed in my mind like a broken record, each scene more agonizing than the last. Emily's betrayal, etched in my memory, seemed surreal yet painfully real. I approached Katie cautiously, hoping against hope that it had all been a terrible mistake, a nightmare from which I would soon awaken. But as I sat down beside her at the breakfast table, her demeanor was unsettlingly normal, as if nothing had happened. "Katie," I started tentatively, my voice betraying the turmoil within me, "we need to talk about last night." She looked at me with a blank expression, her eyes momentarily clouding with confusion before clearing again. "What about last night?" Her voice was casual, as if discussing the weather. My heart sank. How could she not remember? Was it possible that she was feigning ignorance to avoid confronting the truth? "Katie, please," I implored, trying to keep my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. "You were with someone else last night." Her brows furrowed slightly, a hint of irritation flickering across her face. "What are you talking about? I don't remember anything like that." I felt a surge of anger rising within me, mingled with frustration and a profound sense of betrayal. "How can you not remember?" I snapped, unable to contain the accusation in my voice. Days passed in a haze of tension and uncertainty. Each moment felt like an eternity as I struggled to make sense of what had happened between Katie and me. The memory of that night haunted me relentlessly, a shadow that refused to fade. Then one evening, as we sat in the quiet of our living room, Katie's demeanor shifted. She had been distant and withdrawn since that fateful morning, lost in her thoughts. But now, as she stared into the distance with a troubled expression, I sensed a change in her. "Katie," I ventured cautiously, breaking the heavy silence that had settled between us like a thick fog. She turned to look at me, her eyes filled with a mix of sorrow and shame. I think I remember," she murmured, her voice barely audible. My heart skipped a beat as hope mingled with apprehension. "Remember what?" I asked softly, afraid of what her answer might be. She took a deep breath as if steeling herself for what she was about to say. "Last week," she began slowly, her voice trembling slightly, I went to that party with some colleagues. I didn't plan to drink much, but—" Her words trailed off, and I waited in agonizing silence, willing her to continue despite the pain it caused. "I met someone there," she confessed, her gaze dropping to her hands folded in her lap. "I don't even remember his name. We talked, and things got blurry after that." The weight of her words hung heavily in the air, suffocating in its intensity. I struggled to maintain my composure, my emotions raw and turbulent. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "I don't know what came over me. I never meant to hurt you." The sincerity in her voice was unmistakable, yet it offered little solace in the face of such betrayal. Anger and hurt surged within me, battling against the flicker of compassion I still felt for the woman who had been my wife. "I don't know if I can forgive you," I admitted, my voice rough with emotion. "I trusted you, Katie. We built a life together, and you—" "I know," she interrupted softly, tears welling up in her eyes. "I don't deserve your forgiveness." Silence descended once more, heavy with unspoken words and shattered dreams. The truth had been laid bare, and there was no escaping its painful reality. "I need time," I finally said, my voice strained, "to figure out where we go from here." Katie nodded silently, her shoulders slumped with the weight of her shame and regret. As I turned away, walking towards the door that now seemed like a barrier between us, I knew that our journey together had irreversibly changed, and whether we could find our way back from this betrayal remained uncertain, shrouded in the shadows of our shattered trust. As I sit alone in our once vibrant home, The memories flood back like a bittersweet tide. I find myself retracing the steps of our journey together, from the first shy glances to the laughter that echoed through these walls. We had dreams, Katie and I, dreams that seemed within reach as we navigated the highs and lows of life hand in hand. I recall the early days, filled with hope and promise when every challenge felt conquerable with her by my side. We shared secrets under the stars and whispered plans for our future into the late hours of the night. Our love was a sanctuary, a refuge from the storms that threatened to pull us apart. But now, those memories are tainted by the stark reality of betrayal. The trust we painstakingly built lies shattered at my feet, fractured by one reckless night that changed everything. How could it have come to this? I wonder, my heart heavy with grief and disbelief. In moments like these, I find myself yearning for the simplicity of our past. The days when her smile lit up the darkest corners of my world, when her touch was enough to silence the doubts that plagued my mind. We were invincible, or so I thought. Yet here I am, grappling with the harsh truth that our happiness was fragile, easily shattered by the weight of one impulsive decision. I try to make sense of it all, to find a glimmer of understanding in the chaos of emotions that threaten to consume me. What hurts the most is not just the act of betrayal itself, but the erosion of the foundation upon which our love was built. Can we ever reclaim what we once had? Is forgiveness possible when trust has been so brutally broken? I sift through the fragments of our past, searching for answers that seem to elude me. The memories, once a source of comfort, now serve as painful reminders of what has been lost. As I gaze into the void that stretches before me, I wonder if I will ever find peace amidst the wreckage of our shattered dreams. After days of wrestling with conflicting emotions and sleepless nights, I've come to a decision. I need clarity, a respite from the suffocating atmosphere of our once shared home. Katie's confession, her tear-streaked apologies, and the haunting echo of her betrayal reverberate through my mind. I can't stay here. Not now. Every corner holds a memory. Each room echoes with our shattered trust. So I decide to leave, for a while at least. It's not an escape, it's a search for understanding. Packing feels mechanical, as if my hands move of their own accord, choosing essentials without conscious thought. Clothes, toiletries, a few books. I don't know how long I'll be gone or where exactly I'll go. The uncertainty feels oddly liberating amidst the turmoil. I leave a note, brief and vague, explaining that I need space to process everything. It's not a goodbye, not yet. It's a pause, a necessary interlude to navigate the storm raging within me. As I step out into the cool evening air, the weight on my chest eases slightly. The streets are quiet, offering solace in their anonymity. Each step away from our home feels like a step towards clarity, towards a decision that feels both daunting and inevitable. I drive aimlessly at first, the familiar streets blurring past. Eventually, I find myself on a quiet stretch of coastline, where the rhythm of crashing waves soothes my restless mind. Here, surrounded by the vast expanse of the ocean, I allow myself to breathe, to think, to feel. In the solitude of this temporary refuge, I hope to find answers. Can our love withstand this betrayal? Is forgiveness possible, or is this the beginning of the end? For now, I focus on the present moment, on finding peace amidst the turmoil. This journey, however uncertain, is a step towards understanding my own heart and the future it holds. I sit across from Tom, my best friend since college, nursing a lukewarm coffee in a corner booth of our favorite diner. The clatter of dishes and muted chatter provide a comforting backdrop to the storm brewing inside me. Thanks for meeting me, I start, my voice betraying the turmoil within. Tom gives me a reassuring nod, his familiar gaze steady and understanding. Of course, man. You know I'm here for you, he replies, his tone gentle yet brimming with readiness to offer support. I take a deep breath, gathering my thoughts before diving into the tangled mess of emotions that has consumed me since Katie's confession. It's just, I don't know what to do, Tom. Everything feels upside down. How could she, after all these years? Tom listens attentively, his expression a mix of empathy and concern. I can't imagine how you're feeling, but remember, you don't have to figure this out alone. Have you talked to her again since you left? I shake my head slowly. The memory of Katie's tear-stained face is still vivid in my mind. Not yet. I needed some space to clear my head. But now, I'm torn. Part of me wants to try to work through this, but another part, I don't know if I can forgive her. It's a lot to process, man, Tom says, his voice steady. Give yourself time. And remember, forgiveness doesn't mean you're condoning what she did. It's about finding peace for yourself. I appreciate his wisdom and his ability to distill my chaotic thoughts into something manageable. I just don't want to make a decision I'll regret, you know? Tom nods, reaching across the table to squeeze my shoulder. You won't. Whatever you decide, I'll support you. Just take it one step at a time. As we finish our coffee, I feel a flicker of hope amidst the uncertainty. Talking to Tom has brought a sense of clarity, a reminder that I have people in my corner even when life throws its hardest punches. Leaving the diner, I know the road ahead won't be easy, but with Tom's advice echoing in my mind, I feel a glimmer of strength to face whatever comes next. Alone in the quiet of my rented cabin, the walls seem to close in around me. Surrounded by towering pines and the distant echo of wildlife, I thought this getaway would bring clarity. Instead, it's plunged me deeper into an emotional whirlpool. I stare out at the tranquil lake, its surface mirroring the turmoil within me. Katie's tear-streaked face flashes in my mind, her words of regret and apologies haunting my thoughts. How did we end up here? 11 years of marriage, of shared dreams and memories, now overshadowed by betrayal. The weight of it all crashes over me, and I find myself pacing the cabin's creaky wooden floors, unable to escape the relentless loop of questions. Was our love not enough? Could I have done something differently? The bitter taste of betrayal lingers, mingling with the ache of shattered trust. I reach for my phone instinctively, wanting to hear Katie's voice, to seek comfort in her presence, even if it's strained and fragile. But I stop myself. This space was meant for clarity, for finding answers amidst the chaos. Outside, the sun begins its descent, casting long shadows across the forest floor. In the fading light, I wrestle with the conflicting emotions that threaten to overwhelm me. Anger, sorrow, confusion, they all swirl together, each demanding attention. Sitting on the porch steps, I let the cool evening breeze wash over me, hoping it might offer solace. But in this moment of solitude, I confront the harsh reality that decisions lie ahead, decisions that will shape not just my future, but Katie's too. As the stars begin to emerge in the darkening sky, I know I can't stay here forever. Tomorrow awaits with its uncertainties, its challenges, and its healing potential. But for now, I allow myself to feel, to acknowledge the depth of this emotional storm raging within. In the quiet of the night, under the watchful gaze of the moon, I find a fleeting sense of peace amid the chaos. And with each breath, I inch closer to understanding what comes next in this journey of heartache and healing. I sit at the cluttered desk in my study, the glow of the computer screen casting a soft light in the dim room. It's been days since I retreated here, seeking solace in the silent hum of the old desktop and the anonymity of the internet. Desperation drives me to scour articles, forums, and expert opinions, searching for answers to the haunting question that plagues my mind. Why did Katie cheat? The cursor blinks steadily on the search bar as I type in variations of the question, hoping for some profound revelation or psychological insight that could make sense of the senseless. Each click leads me down a rabbit hole of theories and anecdotes, each promising a glimpse into the labyrinth of infidelity. Some sources speak of unmet emotional needs, of partners drifting apart in the currents of life's demands. Others delve into the murky waters of human psychology, citing insecurity, thrill-seeking, or even sheer opportunity as catalysts for betrayal. As I scroll through page after page, I feel a mix of anger and despair rise within me, each explanation a potential dagger reopening the wound. Yet amidst the sea of conjecture, one article catches my eye. It speaks of vulnerability, not just in relationships but within ourselves. It suggests that sometimes infidelity is not merely a breach of trust, but a symptom of deeper unresolved issues, both personal and relational. I pause, my thoughts drifting to the years with Katie. Were there signs I missed? Moments when her laughter sounded hollow, her gaze distant. I replay memories like scenes from a movie, searching for clues, for hints of the unraveling that I now face. Hours slip away unnoticed as I absorb the words on the screen, grappling with the complexity of human emotions and the fragile nature of trust. The quest for understanding becomes a quest for closure, a way to anchor myself in a storm of uncertainty. Eventually, fatigue sets in, and I shut down the computer with a heavy sigh. The room dims, plunging into the quiet of the night. In the stillness, I realize that while I may never fully comprehend Katie's choices, this search has brought me one step closer to making peace with the shattered pieces of our past. Tomorrow awaits, with its challenges and decisions. But tonight, I find a small measure of solace in the knowledge that seeking meaning is part of the healing process, a journey toward reclaiming my sense of self amidst the wreckage of betrayal. I turn the key in the lock, the familiar click echoing through the quiet house. It's been weeks since I left, seeking answers and clarity far from these walls that once held promises of forever. Now, as I step inside, the air feels heavy with memories, both cherished and tainted by betrayal. The silence greets me like an old friend, wrapping around me in a bittersweet embrace. I wander through rooms once filled with laughter, now haunted by echoes of arguments left unresolved. The photographs on the walls stare back at me, frozen moments of happiness that now seem like fragments of a distant dream. My footsteps echo softly on the hardwood floor as I make my way to the living room, where we used to unwind after long days. The couch stands as a silent witness to our shared moments, now a symbol of fractured trust and shattered illusions. I sink into its familiar embrace, feeling the weight of decisions yet to be made pressing down on me. The evening sun casts a warm glow through the curtains, casting shadows that dance across the floor. Outside, the world continues its relentless march forward, oblivious to the turmoil within these walls. But here, in this moment of quiet introspection, I confront the daunting task ahead, deciding what comes next. I pull out my phone, scrolling through messages left unanswered in my absence. Katie's name appears, a reminder of the conversations we've yet to have, of the wounds still raw and unhealed. Part of me longs for closure, for the catharsis of confrontation, yet another part recoils from the pain it will inevitably bring. As I sit there, enveloped in the solitude of our once shared sanctuary, I realize that returning home isn't just about physical presence. It's about reclaiming my sense of belonging, of finding a path forward amidst the wreckage of broken promises. Tomorrow, I will face Katie, armed not with anger, but with a tentative hope for understanding. For now, in the quiet of this moment, I allow myself to breathe, to let the weight of uncertainty settle around me like a familiar blanket. Home, once a refuge, now becomes a crucible of decisions that will shape the course of my future. The topic of divorce hangs heavy between us, a specter in every conversation we attempt to have. Katie sits across from me at the kitchen table, her eyes avoiding mine as we navigate this treacherous terrain. "I don't understand why you're so set on this," she finally murmurs, her voice tinged with a mixture of frustration and hurt. "Can't we work through this somehow?" Her words echo in the silence that follows. I take a deep breath, trying to steady my emotions before responding. "Katie, how can we work through this when trust has been shattered?" I ask, my voice betraying the turmoil within. "You know what happened was more than just a mistake." She looks away, fidgeting with a napkin on the table. "I know," she admits quietly. "I regret it so much, but I thought we could move past it, rebuild." I shake my head, the ache in my chest intensifying with each passing moment. "It's not that simple," I say, my voice rough with emotion. "You broke something fundamental, Katie. Trust, loyalty. I don't know how to look past that." Tears well up in her eyes, mirroring the pain etched across her face. "I love you," she whispers, her voice trembling. "I know I messed up, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make things right." I meet her gaze, feeling the weight of her words like a physical force. "I love you too," I admit quietly, "but love alone can't fix this." We sit in silence once more, the tension thickening between us. The clock on the wall ticks loudly, marking the passage of time we can't reclaim. I reach out across the table, taking her hand in mine. "Katie, I don't want to lose you," I say, my voice breaking. "But I don't know if I can stay." Her hand trembles in mine, a silent plea for understanding. "Please," she whispers, her eyes pleading with me to reconsider. "Let's not give up on us." I squeeze her hand gently, torn between love and the jagged edges of betrayal. "I need time," I finally say, my voice barely above a whisper. "Time to figure out if I can forgive, if we can ever trust each other again." She nods, tears now flowing freely down her cheeks. I'll give you the time you need, she replies softly. Just know that I'll fight for us, no matter what. As we sit there, grappling with the uncertainty of our future, I realize that discussing divorce isn't just about legalities or paperwork. It's about confronting the shattered pieces of our once unbreakable bond and deciding if they can ever be pieced back together. After agonizing over the decision for what felt like an eternity, I finally chose to end our marriage after 11 years. It's a decision that weighs heavily on my heart, yet I know it's necessary for both of our sakes. Sitting across from Mr. Jacobs, my divorce attorney, I feel a strange mix of relief and sadness. His office is quiet and sterile, a stark contrast to the emotional storm raging within me. I appreciate you coming in today, Jack, Mr. Jacobs begins, his voice gentle but businesslike. I understand this is a difficult time for you. I nod, unable to speak at first. The reality of seeking legal counsel to dissolve the life Katie and I built together is almost surreal. Thank you, I managed to say, my voice hoarse with emotion. Mr. Jacobs nods sympathetically, flipping through the papers on his desk. Let's start by discussing the division of your assets and finances, he suggests, his tone professional. Have you and Katie had any preliminary discussions about how you'd like to proceed? I hesitate, memories flooding my mind of happier times. Our first home, vacations together, the dreams we once shared. Now those dreams feel shattered, irretrievable. Not yet, I admit finally, my voice barely above a whisper. But I know we'll need to figure it out. Mr. Jacobs nods, scribbling notes as we begin to outline the tangled web of our shared life. We discuss the house we bought 5 years ago, our joint savings and investments, and even the car we bought together last summer. Divorce is never easy, Mr. Jacobs remarks, his eyes kind as he looks up from his notes. But we'll work through this step by step, ensuring a fair and equitable distribution of your assets. I appreciate his professionalism and his calm demeanor in the face of my emotional turmoil. Yet, as we delve deeper into the logistics of separating our lives, a sense of sadness washes over me, a realization that the life I once knew is slipping away. By the time I leave Mr. Jacobs' office, I've taken the first concrete steps toward a future without Katie. It's a future that terrifies me with its uncertainty, yet it's also a path I know I must walk if I am to find peace and healing. Driving home, I reflect on the conversations we've had and the decisions that lie ahead. The road to divorce will be long and arduous, filled with legal complexities and emotional hurdles. But as I navigate this new chapter of my life, I cling to a glimmer of hope that someday I will emerge stronger, wiser, and ready to embrace whatever lies ahead. The air between us is heavy with unspoken words as Katie and I sit across from each other at the kitchen table. It's our final conversation about our divorce, about the unraveling of our 11-year marriage. I clear my throat, trying to find the right words to encapsulate the whirlwind of emotions inside me. Katie, I begin, my voice steady but laced with sadness. We need to talk about what's happened between us. She meets my gaze, her eyes a mix of regret and defiance. I know, she replies softly, her voice barely audible. You've shattered everything we built together, I continue, my words echoing in the quiet room. 11 years of marriage, Katie. How could you do this? Tears well up in her eyes as she struggles to respond. I don't know, Jack, she whispers, her voice breaking. I don't have an excuse. I was selfish, lost. I feel a surge of anger, then a profound sadness washes over me. You were my world, Katie, I say, my voice breaking, and you've torn it apart. She reaches out tentatively as if wanting to touch my hand but hesitating. I'm sorry, she murmurs, tears streaming down her cheeks. I never meant to hurt you. I pull away, unable to bear the sight of her remorse. But you did, I say, my tone harsher than intended. You shattered my trust, Katie. How can we ever come back from this? Her silence is deafening, a stark acknowledgement of the irreparable damage done. We sit in silence for what feels like an eternity, the weight of our words hanging between us like a heavy fog. Finally, I gather my resolve. I've spoken with my lawyer, I say quietly, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. We'll start the divorce proceedings next week. Katie nods slowly, tears still streaming down her face. I understand, she whispers, her voice choked with emotion. There's nothing more to say, I murmur, my heart breaking anew at the finality of it all. I'll pack my things and be out by the end of the week. She nods again, her gaze fixed on the table. I'll, I'll start looking for a place, she says quietly. As I stand to leave, I glance back at the woman who was once my wife. In her tear-streaked face, I see the remnants of the love we once shared, now tarnished by betrayal and shattered dreams. Walking away from Katie, from our home, I feel a mix of sorrow and relief. Our final conversation has brought closure, but the scars of our broken marriage will linger long after we part ways. With a heavy heart and a stack of paperwork in front of me, I sit down at my desk to finalize the divorce. The past few weeks have been a blur of emotions: anger, sadness, and a lingering sense of betrayal. But now it's time to bring closure to this chapter of my life. I glance through the legal documents, each page a reminder of the life I once shared with Katie. It's surreal, putting pen to paper to officially dissolve what was once a promising union. The details of asset division and financial settlement are laid out meticulously, a stark contrast to the emotional turmoil raging inside me. As I sign my name on the dotted line, I can't help but feel a sense of relief mingled with sadness. Relief that the legalities are almost over, that soon I will no longer be bound to someone who broke my trust so deeply. Sadness for the dreams we had, now shattered beyond repair. The sound of the pen scratching against the paper echoes in the silence of the room, a final punctuation mark on our failed marriage. I fold the papers neatly and place them in the envelope, sealing it with a heavy heart. This is it, I think to myself, as I prepare to send the documents off to my lawyer. The end of Jack and Katie's story is marked not by fireworks or grand gestures, but by the quiet acceptance of irreconcilable differences and broken promises. As I walk to the mailbox, I can't help but think about the road ahead. It won't be easy, rebuilding my life after divorce, but it's a necessary step towards healing. I take a deep breath, letting go of the past and embracing the uncertain future that lies ahead. Sending off the envelope feels like a weight lifted off my shoulders, a symbolic gesture of moving on. The chapter of my life with Katie is closed, and though scars remain, I know I am stronger for having endured the pain. As I stand amid boxes stacked high and scattered belongings, I realize this is not just a physical move, it's a symbolic leap into a new life. Each item I pack or discard carries memories, some bittersweet, others painful reminders of what once was. Preparing for this fresh start is both daunting and liberating. Sorting through the remnants of my past life with Katie, I feel a surge of determination to leave behind the heaviness of regret and disappointment. It's time to reclaim my space, my identity, and my future. The process is cathartic. As I organize my new living space, I envision how I want my life to unfold from here on out. It's about creating a sanctuary that reflects my aspirations and dreams, untethered from the shadows of a failed marriage. I make lists of goals, of things to buy, of places to explore. Each list is a step forward, a promise to myself that I will not let the pain of the past define my future. I reach out to friends and family, grateful for their support as I embark on this journey of rediscovery. Amidst the chaos of packing and unpacking, I find moments of clarity. I reflect on the lessons learned, the resilience gained, and the strength discovered within myself. It's not just about moving to a new place, it's about embracing change with open arms. In the quiet moments between boxes, I allow myself to dream again, to imagine a life filled with laughter, new experiences, and the freedom to be authentically me. The weight of uncertainty is replaced by a sense of anticipation, a belief that better days lie ahead. As I tape up the last box and look around the room one final time, I feel a sense of accomplishment. I am ready, ready to close the door on the past and step boldly into the unknown, ready to embrace this new chapter of my life, with hope, resilience, and an open heart. The first night in my new place is both strange and comforting. Surrounded by unpacked boxes and the echoes of unfamiliarity, I find solace in the quiet. It's a blank canvas waiting to be painted with new memories and experiences. Over the following days, I settle into a routine. I explore the neighborhood, discovering quaint coffee shops and parks where I can escape and reflect. Each outing feels like a small victory, a step further away from the pain of the past and towards a future of my own making. I indulge in self-care, rediscovering hobbies and interests that were pushed aside during my marriage. Painting, hiking, and even simple pleasures like reading a book uninterrupted bring a sense of fulfillment I haven't felt in years. It's a reawakening of my passions, a reclaiming of my individuality. Throughout it all, I lean on the support of friends and family. Their encouragement and understanding bolster my resolve, reminding me that I am not alone in this journey. Their presence reinforces my belief that I am capable of rebuilding my life, piece by piece. As I reflect on how far I've come, I acknowledge the emotional roller coaster of the past months. There were moments of doubt, grief, and anger. But through it all, I've emerged stronger and more resilient than I ever thought possible. The finality of signing the divorce papers is both sobering and liberating. It's a closure I've sought, a closure that allows me to turn the page and embrace the future with renewed optimism. I'm no longer defined by my past. I am defined by my courage to move forward. In the quiet solitude of my new home, I take a deep breath and smile. The journey to this point has been arduous, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's a journey of self-discovery, of growth, and of rediscovering my worth. With each passing day, I continue to build my new life, one filled with possibilities, new beginnings, and the freedom to shape my destiny. I am grateful for the lessons learned, for they have paved the way to a brighter tomorrow. As the sun sets on this chapter of my life, I look ahead with hope and gratitude. I am ready to embrace whatever lies ahead, knowing that I am stronger and more resilient because of this journey. This new chapter is mine to write, and I am eager to see where it leads. As I stand on the threshold of my new beginning, I feel a mix of emotions: relief, excitement, and a lingering sense of apprehension. The journey to this point has been tumultuous, marked by heartache and self-discovery. But today, as I look forward, I am filled with a quiet resolve to leave behind the pain inflicted by Katie's betrayal. I've spent months rebuilding my life, piece by piece. The wounds may still be tender, but they no longer define me. I've learned to embrace healing, to nurture myself with kindness and patience. It's a process, slow and steady, like the gentle unfurling of a flower after a long winter. In this new chapter, I am determined to prioritize my happiness and well-being. I've surrounded myself with positive influences, friends who lift me, activities that ignite my passion, and moments of quiet reflection that soothe my soul. Each day is an opportunity to reaffirm my strength and resilience. The scars of betrayal have taught me invaluable lessons about trust and forgiveness. I've come to understand that forgiveness is not about condoning what happened, but releasing myself from the burden of resentment. It's a gift I give myself, allowing me to move forward with clarity and grace. I've rekindled old hobbies and explored new interests, rediscovering the joys of life that were overshadowed by the pain of the past. Painting has become a form of therapy, a canvas where I pour out my emotions and find solace in creative expression. Hiking in the serene beauty of nature has grounded me, reminding me of the vastness of the world beyond my struggles. Navigating the legalities of divorce was challenging, but with the guidance of my lawyer and the support of loved ones, I navigated through it with determination and resilience. The paperwork is now finalized, marking the official end of my marriage to Katie. It's a closure I sought, a necessary step toward embracing my future unencumbered by the past. As I settle into my new home, I savor the freedom and autonomy it brings. The space is filled with possibilities, a blank canvas waiting to be painted with new memories and experiences. I've decorated it with pieces that reflect my individuality, creating a sanctuary where I feel truly at peace. Reflecting on the journey that brought me here, I am filled with gratitude for the growth and transformation I've experienced. The pain of betrayal once felt insurmountable, but through it, I've discovered my inner strength and resilience. I am not defined by what happened. I am defined by how I've chosen to rise above it. In the quiet moments of solitude, I find solace in knowing that I've reclaimed my life on my terms. The wounds may have left scars, but they serve as a reminder of my capacity to heal and grow. I am no longer afraid of the future. I embrace it with optimism and courage. As I look ahead, I am excited about what the future holds. I've learned to cherish each moment, to savor the beauty of everyday life, and to celebrate my journey of self-discovery. This new beginning is not just an ending, it's a testament to my resilience and a testament to the power of hope and renewal. With a heart full of gratitude and a spirit renewed, I step forward into this new chapter of my life. It's a chapter filled with possibility, growth, and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. I'm ready to embrace it fully, knowing that I'm stronger and more resilient because of the path I've walked. As the sun sets on this chapter of my story, I am filled with peace. The scars of the past have faded into reminders of my strength, and I am grateful for the lessons they've taught me. This is my new beginning, and I am ready to write its pages with courage, grace, and an unwavering belief in myself.